Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today, we're going to be talking about a very popular ability right now, and that is Burst of Speed. And you might be asking yourself, well, why is it so popular? Well, because they announced a new rune word, and the new rune word is called Hustle. The new rune word has a 5% chance to cast level 9 Burst of Speed upon striking, which means that everyone is going to have access to Burst of Speed coming in the next ladder season, or rather with 2.6. Now, Burst of Speed is a skill that you should not, as a melee or ranged character, underestimate in any way, shape, or form. It is a free ability, essentially now, because of the absolute cheap ridiculousness of this recipe at Shale Co. Eld, with the most expensive rune being a Co rune, which everybody should be able to afford. It is going to give you a free level 9 Burst of Speed, which means that you get increased attack speed and increased run walk. And let's talk about that for a second. So, first off, we have two abilities in the Assassin tree. One of them is Burst of Speed, and as you can clearly see underneath my feet, I have now this white, sort of almost like a smoky kind of a circle around it, and it goes downward. Almost like it's smoke flowing downward, right? On top of that, we also have Fade. Now, Fade is the antithesis of this ability. So, Burst of Speed makes you run faster and attack faster, whereas Fade makes you more defensive. And when you cast Fade, you get another type of smoke ability, and your character kind of like grays out. So she becomes almost ethereal, right? Now, Burst of Speed and Fade cannot exist at the same time. So if you cast Burst of Speed, Fade will be destroyed. And if you cast Fade, Burst of Speed becomes destroyed. The two are completely separate from each other. This means that Burst of Speed is a separate ability entirely, and obviously things like Treachery cannot work at the same time as a Hustle bow, for instance, because the Hustle bow gives you Burst of Speed, and every time Burst of Speed procs, it's going to replace the Fade, and every time the Fade procs, it's going to replace the Burst of Speed, and vice versa. So remember this when it comes to these abilities, is that they do not exist at the same time. They will replace each other. Burst of Speed specifically gives you two things. It gives you an increased attack speed, which means that you get to attack faster, which is actually really freaking awesome. Let me first show you what it's like with when I don't attack, obviously, very quickly. And I'm going to just utilize something let's just do Tiger Strike. So this is Tiger Strike with no increased attack speed. This is just using Fade for defensive purposes. And if we grab Burst of Speed, you'll notice that I attack a hell of a lot quicker with Burst of Speed. It's not just increased attack speed. A lot of people make this mistake with Burst of Speed, is that, like, for instance, let's say I was using something like Treachery, which had 45% increased attack speed on it. 45% increased attack speed from Treachery is a nice little bump in attack speed, yes, but the 46% increased attack speed that comes from Burst of Speed is a separate calculation, very similar to the way that Fanaticism works. And Fanaticism and Burst of Speed offer a different increase in attack speed than just simply raw attack speed does on your character. So it is a form of what is known as skill-based, right? Skill-based increased attack speed. Fanaticism and Burst of Speed are skill-based increased attack speeds, which means that Burst of Speed is essentially the same thing as running Fanaticism. And this means that you're going to attack a lot faster than just 45% increased attack speed would allow you. This means you're going to be able to hit breakpoints that you would otherwise not be able to hit, and it's also going to mean that you need less increased attack speed on your equipment itself. This is why everybody's so excited about the Hustle rune word, because it's going to allow you to have this, say, on your offhand, and you would be able to utilize this to cast Burst of Speed on yourself, increasing your attack speed for whatever your main hand weapon is. Since it lasts for about 3.5 minutes, which is actually not bad at all, you don't really even have to cast it very often. The other thing that Burst of Speed gives you is run and walk speed. Run walk speed is also another thing that you cannot underestimate when it comes to this ability. So there are a large myriad of ways that a character can have his run and walk speed increased. And what we need to understand here is that there is literally like 6 or 7 different ways that you can increase your run walk speed. This character right here, Sanic the Hoojhag, represents the culmination of all of those things. First off is just raw run walk. And this character has been cheated to have as much raw, faster run walk as he could ever possibly have in his life. The raw run walk on its own does not make the character run very fast. I have 4,748% faster run walk, and without the faster run walk from Vigor, for instance, this is the maximum that I'm capable of going. With 4,700%, that is the maximum, right? However, if I throw on Vigor, you notice that now I'm running faster. Why am I running so much faster when all Vigor offers me is a small run walk bonus? It's not because it offers me small run walk bonus. It's because Vigor is calculated differently than regular run walk calculates. Burst of speed is also calculated differently than the way that regular run walk is calculated. So if I cast burst of speed on myself, you will notice that now I have increased in speed even more. And this is because burst of speed's run walk calculation is a completely different calculation than regular run walk, and allows your character to run amazingly fast by comparison to just adding in a small amount of run walk ability. So when you think about hustle, don't think about it as just simply, oh, it's a little bit of additional faster run walk, it's a little bit of an additional increased attack speed. No, it is skill-based increased attack speed, which functions better than regular increased attack speed. It is a skilled-based form of run walk, which again functions better than regular run walk, which means it's going to make your character run and walk and attack faster than any normal run walk and any normal increased attack speed will. And you can get this pretty high. So for instance, if I go ahead and reset my character real quick, I can go ahead and throw some points in here. And we can bring this up to a pretty high level. And as you can see, it continually increases. But at a certain point, it kind of plateaus. And it's important to note because you don't really want to like dump a million points into it. Around level, I'm trying to remember the exact level because there is a specific point at which it just kind of plateaus. It's level 25. Around level 25, it just kind of, and it just doesn't go very far at all after that. At level 25, it goes to 54%, and then it goes from level 25 to level 26 is 55, and then at level 27, it's 55, and then at 28, it's still 55%, and 29, it's still 55%, and level 30, it's still 55%. And then finally at level 31, it goes to 56, and it stays at 56% for many levels until it finally gets to level 36, where it finally goes up to 57, and so forth and so on. Level 24 is really about the highest, or rather level 23 is really about the highest that you ever want to get the ability. Because once you pass that point, it has extremely bad diminishing returns. And anything more than that is really just a waste. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to figure out how many plus to skills you have. You're going to want to make sure you got all your equipment in, your torch on, your Annie, and all that stuff. And if you are going to put points into it, I would recommend beefing it up to about level 23 or level 22 and no further. That's when it hits level 23. Yeah, that's right. Because that's when it hits 54%, and 54% is really right where it starts to just have horrible diminishing returns. And then anything further than that, if you get more plus skills, if you need to respec your character and rebalance it, then rebalance it. Take some points out if you need to, add some points if you need to. But don't really go too much higher than that. Because it's really just kind of a waste. Also, what you may want to do is you might want to check on IAS calculators. And you might want to see exactly how much you need. You may not need that extra 1%. You may not need that extra 2%. You might only have to have an exact amount to reach the next breakpoint. And if you run through a calculator and you try and figure out exactly how much IAS you need, or exactly what level burst of speed you can get away with, then you'll know exactly what, min-maxed burst of speed you can get to. Maybe you have to have the 55%. If you don't have the 55%, you're not going to be able to hit that magic breakpoint, right? So then you're going to put a couple more points in until you hit the 55%, and then you're going to cut it off there. And in this way, you can min-max the burst of speed to get to the exact breakpoint that you need. Now, if you just have extra points that you want to dump in, I mean, at that point, I guess you could just dump them in. But as you can see, I'm still at 55% at level 30. I just dumped a whole bunch of points in it, and I didn't get any bonus. So just kind of a bad investment past a certain point. Overall, the duration does increase, obviously, as you level it up. So that's nice. 468 seconds is a pretty long time. And quite honestly, you won't have to cast it all that often. It is important to note that if you do use Treachery Armor, which is a very nice assassin armor, it will overwrite the burst of speed, as I was talking about earlier. So one thing that you can do is you can just be vigilant, and anytime you see your character fade away, you just recast your ability. As long as you're recasting the ability over top of fade, you're fine. But if you let it go down, if you let fade overwrite your burst of speed and you don't fix it, then you won't have that faster run walk, you won't have that increased attack speed, and you will have lost the benefit. It's really all there is to this ability, and I think we've gone over everything. If you haven't seen the Hustle runeword, I do have a video up on that. They may be making some changes to it. I'm not sure. They have talked about potentially making some changes to some of the rune words, and apparently we're going to find that out in patch 2.6. There's a lot of community feedback on them. So as it is right now, Hustle is, I mean, it's not exactly an extremely powerful rune word, but it is a very fast rune word with 30% increased attack speed on it, combined with the 44% increased attack speed from the level 9 burst of speed. And even if you're just using it as your off weapon, firing it, getting the effect, maybe a bow or a sword or any other number of things, because it doesn't necessarily have to be in a bow. It's all weapons. So you can basically make yourself, a buff stick, essentially. And for the price of a shale and a co-rune, it's nothing too fancy there. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just running around like crackheads on Sanic to Hooch Hag. And as always, keep watching.